If an employee of ABC comes to and hits you, shoots you, poisons you, defames you, arbitration. I mean,
right.
So Valiant, let's talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about things. What's on your mind? Yeah, this. Oh my.
I know you and I haven't
I'll take credit for that.
Right, I know. You and I haven't had a chance to really catch up on this. Disney reverses course on wrongful death lawsuit, agrees to let case proceed in court. This was the case where an estate of a deceased lady filed lawsuit, and the widower filed lawsuit against the Walt Disney Company and other parties involved for a death related to a food allergy at a restaurant on Disney property in Orlando, Disney Springs. It wasn't a restaurant owned or operated by Disney. It was a tenant, but advertised on the Disney website, in part being allergy friendly and all this. Well, unfortunately, something was served that wasn't supposed to be served to this individual, and she unfortunately passed away. The estate files a lawsuit against Disney, and then Disney tries the outrageous defense of, you can't sue us because you signed up for a Disney Plus account, a free trial back in...
A free trial.
Yeah, back in 2019, of which you canceled it before the trial was even over. So therefore...
But now we own you.
Yeah.
We own you.
Yeah.
In fact, we're sending a bunch of guys over today with baseball bats. You got to take it to arbitration. No matter what we do or where we do it, anything Disney. If an employee of ABC comes to and hits you, shoots you, poisons you, defames you, arbitration. I mean,
right. It's the most ridiculously outrageous, silly thing I think I've ever seen.
It was not well received.
It was not, matter of fact. It was not well received. This is from Fox News. Disney tries to silence a grieving husband and learns that not all news is good news. Disney seems to have caved in, would you say, maybe to public pressure? What do you think happened here? Because they have now withdrawn.
Keep in mind, this was a loser. This motion to compel arbitration was a loser because although arbitration clauses are routinely and broadly enforced, there are limits. And one of those limits is it's got to have something to do with the underlying relationship, the underlying contractual relationship. And even if you put into your arbitration agreement any dispute that may arise between the parties, that's probably not going to be enforceable because for the reasons I was saying before. Disney owns vast swaths of corporate America. You can't agree to arbitrate disputes with respect to issues that might come up that have nothing whatsoever to do with the arbitration. I'm sorry, with the relationship. And plus, it's really rather attenuated to go back 5 years to a Disney Plus trial. That dog wasn't going to hunt. So they were going to lose that, and they were going to lose it loudly. And that was going to be another, it still is, but not quite as much, another bad law docket moment for Disney in a year that has had a few bad law docket moments. So they didn't need that.
You know, the way this op-ed is written from Fox News, I kind of love this. Is in a surprising twist. Disney initially sought to push the case to arbitration, citing a clause from terms and conditions of its Disney Plus streaming service. After a public backlash, Disney withdrew the claim, allowing the case to proceed in court. However, this episode illustrates a broader danger for Disney, the Streisand effect, which I always love when we get to apply that phrase. It always just brightens my day. And the Streisand effect refers to a phenomenon where the attempts to hide or suppress information only lead to greater public attention. It originated from a 2003 incident in which Barbra Streisand tried to prevent aerial photographers of her home from being published, or aerial photographs. Her legal efforts, rather than keeping the photos under wraps, brought widespread public and media attention to the images. So there you have it. The attempt to move the lawsuit into private arbitration away from public scrutiny backfired in a similar way. Instead of avoiding negative publicity, the company found itself at the center of attention, and in this case, a growing controversy, as the public reacted strongly against what seemed like an attempt to sidestep accountability. You know, I've got to wonder, Ron, let me ask you, and I know this, imagine that you were a really bad lawyer for a second.
There probably have been a few seconds where I've been a bad lawyer.
Maybe that first day of law school. And I'm not trying to say this is a bad lawyer. Maybe this was great legal advice. Let's try this first. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
So
what
I am,
was Disney
and I do.
thinking? Yeah.
Okay. So this is part of right. I'm answering. I anticipated your question. What happens in a situation like this is, first of all, I don't think one of Disney's usual law firms was handling this litigation. Assume it was being covered by their carrier who chose counsel. So a lot of lawyers, it's very common, especially in larger firms, they go belts and suspenders on everything, and they never, it takes a lot of confidence to not assert a defense that you technically can. If you don't make the move that you can move, if there's a door that is slightly open and you don't push it all the way open, you can get second guessed. My approach has always been, why should the client pay for a really unlikely motion that we're really unlikely to win, and we're going to make the judge is going to take us less seriously. But there are times when you have to make it, and there are clients who insist that you do it. And, that's fine. But in this case, I suspect it seemed like sometimes it just seems like a good idea that, hey, look what we found. Let's impress everyone with just how good our research is, that we found that this guy entered into, had this Disney Plus subscription. And I think there was another angle on it also.
He bought a ticket from Epcot. Online. Yeah, he bought a ticket from Epcot.
I mean, that is...
Well, you have to. You mentioned the carrier just for the audience's sake. So I think, Ron, what you're talking about is the general liability insurance carrier that would be effectively the one that would pay out any damages under an insurance contract on behalf of Disney. And a lot of times,
and that's separate and apart from the, as you mentioned when we last discussed this issue, indemnification by the landlord inevitably. Yeah. I mean, by the tenant. So it could have involved their carrier. Yeah. Although there's a conflict there. I don't know the details in this case of how that went down. This isn't the level of litigation that's the people in the C-suite in Burbank are spending any time thinking about.
No, I wouldn't think so. And if we go back to the article, just to give people a rough idea, like you said, I agree, the people in the C-suite at Burbank are not. But the legal counsel, and I can't remember who it is, chief legal counsel for Disney World in Florida, he was the one that was heavily involved in the whole Reedy Creek situation. Matter of fact,
that's a borderline existential litigation. It's not a wrongful death in the restaurant kind of litigation.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he got made famous because they found the emails where he actually, that whole 11th hour deal, with Reedy Creek turning over its governmental powers to Disney World itself. That lawyer who represents Disney World specifically, who works for Disney World, and Josh DeMauro, he was the one found on the email. He wrote the document for RCID and said, "Here, sign it, and if you want, take my name off of it for the optics." So this is the kind of folks I guess we're dealing with down there. But you can see here it says legal experts quickly criticize Disney's approach. I wonder why. The idea that signing up for a streaming service could prevent someone pursuing a wrongful death claim seemed not only legally tenuous but also ethically questionable. Disney was seen as pushing the envelope of contract law, and the outcry was swift, with many viewing Disney's actions as an attempt to prevent a grieving husband from having his day in court. And then they go down here, see, in response to the backlash, and this is why, you say it wouldn't involve that highest echelon in the C-suite. Well, DeMauro's more or less C-suite. He is, but it's not going up to Carlos Gutierrez, who is Disney's chief legal counsel, right?
Well, but the point is here, though, it got escalated. Once this became the subject of press reports and you know how much they love YouTubers.
Oh, yeah.
Then it moved from being something handled by the law department slash by the carrier into yet another PR nightmare and a management level issue.
Right. And at this point, Josh D'Amaro, who is the chief of Disney Parks, so he oversees the largest division of Disney. And he says, in response to the backlash, Josh D'Amaro issued a statement acknowledging the sensitive nature of the situation and announced that Disney would no longer pursue arbitration. Instead, the company agreed to allow the case to proceed in court, hoping to expedite a resolution for the grieving family. So, yeah, Josh D'Amaro, Ron, if you don't know, is a guy that he's especially from the Disney bloggers and vloggers and the pixie dusters and, you know, Diz Twitter and Diz Tards and the whole family of Disney park social media folk, right? Josh D'Amaro is a name they all know. And Josh D'Amaro is a name that they will either celebrate or crucify in the blink of an eye based on this is going right or wrong at Disney parks or something like this. And, you know, when Bob Chapek was over Disney parks, Josh D'Amaro's predecessor, former Disney CEO after that, Chapek was constantly criticized for price increases in the park. So Josh D'Amaro, point is, has been having a hard time with his PR as leading Disney parks in the last couple of years because of all the price hikes and people complaining about the quality going down. And then we get Splash Mountain getting gutted, and now we have this new big park. They're going to fill in the rivers in Liberty Square and everything. Yeah. You know, that at least that is what is on these plans. So he's not been having a fun time. I got to imagine this thing came along. Josh D'Amaro probably didn't know anything about this. Like you said, some kind of peons in the legal department. Well, it's another lawsuit. Okay, here we go. We get 5 of these a day, right? A company the size of Disney, everybody and their mama is going to sue them for something. And this thing all of a sudden went nuclear in the public eye, you know, and all this. He's like, what is this? You got to wonder how badly might this have blindsided him to get to the point where he personally stepped in and issued a statement. How many lawsuits do you think that Disney has been entangled in? And we only talk about, folks out there watching, we talk about the big ones, right? We talk about the ones that make the public eye. And there for every one of those, there's probably another dozen behind the scenes that Disney settles out of court, pays a couple $1,000s or something, like makes go away. Something like this that was out of left field for Josh D'Amaro, that he comes out and makes a public statement on this case to basically try to save face. This had to have been really bad at Disney, I think. What do you think?
I mean, I would think that somebody on some level is having his work reviewed. I mean, your job as outside counsel is to make decisions not only in terms of, as I said, pushing open every possible door, but when you have a publicity sensitive, public facing, consumer oriented company, your advice about what moves to make has to include a component of how will this sell. Mm-hmm. And what people who are acting as counsel, whether inside or outside at Disney, have to be cognizant of in the summer of 2024 is that every Disney entry on a legal docket, but especially in Florida or California, is getting picked up. Mm-hmm. They're a story. They've got a lot going on. People are looking for things. Yeah. So the decision to go ahead with a motion like this, especially given the likelihood of success, and the other thing is too, this wouldn't have necessarily accomplished all that much for Disney. Mm-hmm. The most likely, I mean, a few people have asked in the comments, they always do, why is Disney even in this lawsuit? And you say, well, maybe there was advertising. It's very attenuated, and I'm not a Florida lawyer. I don't know whether Florida has comparative negligence or contributory negligence, what their doctrine is. But even if Disney had some liability, again, there's no deep pocket issue because this is being handled, this is being paid for by insurance in all probability. And it's, in any event, it's not the kind of money they spend more on donuts in the commissary, even if there's a 7-figure payout in this case.
Yeah.
But you really have to wonder how it is that someone made the decision to make such a goofy motion with I don't really understand what the upside is. You can lose tens. I've been involved in arbitrations involving some really, really gaudy numbers. Mm-hmm. There's Disney's life, like we were talking a couple minutes ago about emails and smoking guns. That wasn't going to be the case here. Mm-hmm. There's nothing sexy or juicy about this. So
yeah, no, it's not. And I have to assume, like you said, if whoever Disney's general liability insurance carrier for Disney World, usually they come in, they bring their legal team. Just like if you get into a car wreck, right, and it's the other guy's fault. Typically, you're not going out and hiring your own personal lawyer. Your insurance company is going to bat for you on your behalf if something need be done. That's part of what you pay for on that policy. General liability, for a park like this works in the same fashion. However, in the case of Disney being as big as they are, I think that, of course, when they're consulting with the legal team at Disney, the insurance company lawyers, the insurance defense lawyers, as it were, maybe some hotshot new kid at Disney said, "Hey, I got an idea. What do y'all think about this? Try this." And that may have been, who knows? Who knows how these things come about, but it's so goofy. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.